But do you think the chair will be here now?
I don't think,
She's going, oh, no, it's not going to come over here.
I didn't hear that anyone was going to come.
Oh, okay, all Zoom except us, and we're staff. Okay. This is a sound activated camera.
I believe it is, because
It just aimed at you. Here's Kaylee. Oh, you know what? It doesn't, it's not wide enough for, I think we should be able to see this
I
here.
can pull out so that it gets this.
Oh, okay. There I am, looking at the ceiling
Yeah,
again.
yeah, just to look at it, you're looking.
Hey, good morning. Hey, Robin.
And
Good morning, everybody. How are we all?
Well, we're here. It's the end of the fiscal year. We're crunching.
Well, it's quiet over here on Lanai. Rainy.
Oh, that's good.
It's great.
Yes,
It's rained almost every day. Couple of
that's
it.
fabulous.
bit.
Oh,
Hi,
that
Donna. Hi, Roy.
that helps
Hello,
get your
hello.
water table up. Hey, Roy.
Absolutely.
Hey, Chair.
Hi, Mary Alice. How you doing? Hi, Tom.
hi.
I think that's Allison back there, right?
That's Kaylee.
Oh, Kaylee. Hi, Kaylee. Sorry. I can't see from this far back. Rachel. Okay.
Hey, Rachel.
Hello. Hi, Mary Alice. Nice to see you.
Oh, thank you. I like all the plants in your backdrop.
Thank you. It's overflow from my house.
Office.
Well, and your beautiful glass ball. Where did you
Oh,
get that?
that was a good buy when I left being the Hawaiian Monk Seal Recovery Coordinator for NOAA. So the Science Center folks, they all signed it on the outside and drew me pictures.
Aw.
But I did a couple seasons in the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands, mostly working on seabirds. And so I have piles of glass balls in a variety of places. That's a big one though.
You are so lucky. Wow. Well, we used to go, onto so I live in Waimanalo, not on the beach, but we could walk to it. And then we go down there after a high tide and watch the glass balls, come in on the surf. And mostly they were all the little, 6 inchers. But every once in a while, there would be a slightly larger one. Of course, we collected every one we could see, and sometimes we'd be coming home, trying desperately to keep hold of all of them. Nowadays, you don't see any of, I think, all of us glass ball collectors have pretty much collected what's been going around in the North Pacific Gyre. And I haven't seen one in a decade or so, but maybe
I was looking, I have one that I found here.
Mhm.
It's a little one that
Oh,
I found actually like my first week on Lanai. But our staff finds them here still pretty regularly, mostly on the north side, kind of where the wind is coming through the Pailolo Channel between Molokai and Maui, and right onto the side of Lanai.
well, you may not have that many enthusiastic glass ball collectors going in that very isolated shoreline.
Yes, that too.
Yay. But anyway. Robin, have you been collecting glass balls while the many decades you've been living on Lanai? Oh, you're muted, Robin.
Mary Alice, that's cruel. Just because I have a gray beard doesn't mean it's many decades. How about a short time ago?
Wait,
But the answer to your question is yes. In fact, I was just looking over at our collection. I haven't seen any in a long time, but in the 70s down on Shipwreck Beach, it was almost a regular daily occasion you'd find them.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we were out in Waimanalo about the same time you were, which was the 70s. And that's pretty much when we, collected the majority of ours.
Yeah, I haven't seen any except the one that Rachel held up. She probably stole from my yard, but other than that, I haven't seen very many of them around.
Oh. Maybe. Roy, have you got a collection of glass balls? You,
Me, no.
You're talking about fishing weights?
yeah,
Yeah.
the floats,
Mhm.
fishing floats that used to be
Yeah.
glass, and now, of course, are all plastic.
Yeah.
And are not quite as, oh, well, I like the glass ones.
I have about a dozen of them,
Wow.
but I don't have any here at my office. They're all at home. I actually have a giant clam that my mother-in-law brought from the Philippines in 1958. And I have it in my garden, and I have a big glass ball in it as if it was an oyster.
Oh.
And everybody goes, "Oh, what a beautiful oyster shell," and I never say anything. Let them think that the clam is an oyster.
Yeah, right.
I imagine with most of the rocky coastline of the Big Island, a lot of the glass balls wouldn't survive an encounter with.
Yeah, no, well, my mother-in-law lived on Oahu. I brought all my glass balls from Oahu to the Big Island. I had them from before.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, well, we do have quorum, so let's go ahead and get started. It's 1:06 p.m. on Tuesday, June 6th. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Onana Thone, Chair of the Council. I'll go to you next, Robin.
Robin K., Island of Lanai.
Thank you. And Roy?
Roy Abe from Oahu.
Thanks, Roy. Rachel?
Rachel Sprague from Lanai.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. Maka'ala?
Maka'ala from Kauai, and I am alone.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Aloha everyone, Steph Dunbar Ko, and I'm on Oahu today.
Thank you. Gordon?
Gordon Scruton on Oahu today.
Thank you. Mahina?
Mahina Tudor on Oahu.
Thank you. Mary?
Mary Bajere on Hawaii Island.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Allison, you want to go next?
Allison Kato, Deputy Attorney General.
Thank you. And I'll turn it over to all the folks in the ERP room, starting with Mary Alice.
Mary Alice Evans, Acting Director of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Thank you.
Tom Eisen, planner with the Environmental Review Program of the OPSD.
Keely O'Shea's an intern with ERP.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Kaylee and Mary Alice. Okay, so, let's go ahead. We don't have too much of a packed agenda. It does look like a lot just because we do have a lot of meeting minutes. And for those of you, that's Kaylee in the background. She's our student helper who's been helping us catch up with all of our meeting minutes. So thank you so much, Kaylee, for that. I think we're pretty close to being caught up. There might just be a couple once we get these approved. So great job. Thank you so much, Kaylee. And then, I hope folks took the time to kind of go through the minutes. If there are any amendments, let's go ahead and start discussing those. Did anybody have any amendments? So we have September. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Roy.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if we were skipping around, but I have one on the August 2nd, 2022.
Okay.
So page 3, item 6, second paragraph. the second sentence where I'm quoted, Member Abe also suggested to include regulations, comma, such as
Mhm.
the progress. And my suggestion is to just delete the words regulations such as. And so it would be just Member Abe also suggested to include the progress or status of the agency's work and make recommendations to the governor.
Okay.
The reason I had mentioned regulations, that's what the regulations, say. So,
Mhm. Yep,
so
that
in
makes-
other words, to comply with the regulations, we should include, the progress and make recommendations. So I think just to simplify it, just take out the word regulations, comma, such as.
Okay, we can do that. Thanks, Brian. Any other amendments to the meeting minutes? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve as amended. Robin, okay, do we have a second? Mary? All right, and any further discussion or amendments? Go ahead, Makala.
Just discussion. Thank you, Kaylee, but very much. But I do, from my perspective, want to make note of the fact that that's a far way back for me to remember exact details of minutes, and I make no claim that my review of them is 100% accurate. I did what Roy did, which is the easiest thing I think that we can do in this situation is that something that I likely said, or, do those sound like my words? But as for the rest of the content, I recollection is tough that far back.
Right, point noted, Makala, and I think for these, because we had, during COVID period, those years gotten behind on meeting minutes. So of course, recollection is very difficult going back, a couple of years and whatnot. So plan going forward, of course, now that we have, I think, a good system and with Kaylee's help, is to do minutes, basically contemporaneously within, the 30 days of the meeting going forward, once we get everything caught up. So thanks everybody for hanging in there on that. Okay, any other discussion or edits?
I had a general question.
Go ahead, Roy.
I used to prepare all those committee reports. Well, if I know committee minutes, are those supposed to be posted? I mean, I have a whole bunch of files.
Yep, those should be posted as well. So once your meeting minutes are complete, if you can go ahead and send them to Tom, do you prefer to you or to Jen for posting? I think Jen's been posting them.
Well, things should be sent to the main email address,
Yep.
which is the dbed opsd.erp.gov, as opposed to an individual person.
Okay, perfect. And somebody will get them posted once they're finalized.
Okay, so what we're posting is, do we actually go in and make the edits, the changes, and then post it, or do we just leave it and then the changes, the revisions are actually picked up by the minutes comments for following meeting?
Yeah, the changes are incorporated before the minutes are posted.
Okay,
For the
so I have to
council
go
minutes.
back and make corrections, and then the final revised copy will be posted.
Right, so if
Okay,
your committee suggested changes, then yes, just
Okay.
send what the final is for committee meeting.
Okay.
That's correct. Okay. Any other comments or questions, edits to meeting minutes? Okay. Well, we have a motion on the floor to approve. So this is the September and October 2021 meeting minutes, July, August, September, October, November and December 2022 meeting minutes, and the May 2023 meeting minutes as amended. All those in favor? You can please raise your hand and keep it up. And if we are not unanimous. Mary, not voting? Oh, you are? Okay. So it is unanimous with everybody here. We won't do a roll call. Thank you very much. Okay, and we got 9 of us today. Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you again, Kaylee. Robin, do you have your hand up for a question, or was that for your vote? Okay. All right. And then Mary Alice, I'll hand it over to you for the acting director's update.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to thank Dawn Hager-Nordstrom and Mary Berger for their patience, persistence, and dedication to getting the word out on the forum via a news release. And as both Dawn and Mary know, I am recommending that the council not use news releases for future communications about forums, because the current process is very time consuming and actually doesn't target the folks that we think might be most interested in attending these forums. And in fact, it's when the news media don't pick up a news release, it's effort that is, perhaps wasted. So in discussions with Dawn and Mary, we are going to use the various MailChimp mailing lists that we have for email to send out announcements of forum events. We think we can probably, with some duplication, reach maybe 2,000 people, which is, and these are people we think will be most interested in attending the forums. So that's a recommendation to the council, just to try to improve the process for you and also our interested public that wants this information. So on other matters, this is the end of the fiscal year. And so we are trying to close the books on our fiscal year 2021 expenditures, anything not expended by June 30th lapses, back to the general fund, which of course our Department of Budget and Finance does love to have that lapse because it improves our bond rating for the state. But in more particular, with the retirement of Les Secundo, we are in active recruitment to fill the Planner 3 position to give the staff, which is right now down to 2 permanent civil service employees. That's Tom and Jen, and our wonderful student helper Kaylee, who we're going to lose at some point here. And so we are trying to fill the Planner 3 position and in active recruitment for it. But I will apologize ahead of time. We're in a labor shortage situation here all across the state, and we are not getting large, or we're not getting what I would consider an adequate pool of applicants from the Department of Human Resource Development, which is the department that does screen all the applications for state permanent civil service jobs. We can't do that on our own, not allowed. So the hope is to get that position filled as quickly as possible so that we will be able to have better services going out to the public and the council. Let's see. Tom, any other news or information that Tom was able to conduct an educational event, and I'm going to turn it over to Tom to tell you what he was able to do.
Right, yes, last week on Wednesday, went to the Big Island to talk to, mostly was organized by the county and specifically the Office of Housing and Community Development. And so it was the first in-person training that I had done since before COVID. So it was interesting. And there was a good attendance, over 20 people. And there were some other departments that participated, county departments. And they had it on Zoom also to some other people. And they asked a lot of questions. They were very engaged in the 343 process, looking for guidance, specifically how it applies to their, the Office of housing was particular interest, but the general training is general, but I try to tailor it to the specific questions, and it went well. And it's kind of nice to be able to do things like that. Looking forward to do more if time and resources allow.
Thank you, Tom. Chair, I think that concludes the acting director's report to the council. Any questions?
Thanks so much, Mary Alice. Any questions for Mary Alice on her report? Go ahead, Robin.
Mary Alice, what does it mean in terms of duration to be acting? What happens? I mean, I'm delighted that you are with us still, but what does it mean? Does that mean that there will not be a nomination until the next session, or that a nomination could happen but not be? What's the next steps for you?
Okay, this is a good question, Robin. There are two types of acting appointments. One is the one I'm in, and I'll explain what the difference is. When a state permanent civil service manager is unable to carry out their duties because they're on vacation, they're on sick leave, they're on leave without pay for any reason, another state official can be temporarily assigned into that position in addition to their own position. So they stay in their own permanent position, but they take on the duties of the vacant position in addition. And if there's a pay differential, they get that differential up to the higher level of pay, not double pay, alas, no. That one is under collective bargaining contract, supposed to go for 120 days. And if there's another employee equally qualified, the union would like us to rotate that temporary assignment to among those employees who might benefit from the experience of taking on those management responsibilities and learning them. Okay, that's not the kind I'm in. The second type of acting appointment is where there's a position that the governor by statute is authorized to fill. And in DBED, that's the DBED director, the DBED deputy, the chief energy officer, and the director of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. All the other executive directors are either hired and compensation set by their boards, not governor. So in Hawaii revised statute, the governor is authorized to fill a vacancy that he has the appointing authority for up to 60 days from the date of the vacancy. And that's the acting type that I am under. And it started with May 5th because Scott Glenn, when he was not confirmed, was only allowed to serve up until the last day of the regular session in which his nomination was submitted. So I turned into a pumpkin on July 3rd, and I am currently in my regular permanent civil service position as special plans branch manager. So, nothing, I don't disappear, I just turn into a pumpkin. Does that answer your question, Robin?
Yes, thank you, Mary Alice.
But I think it generates one more. Do you have any idea who will succeed you from July 3rd on at this point?
The answer is no, but the governor can make that temporary acting appointment to pretty much anyone that he believes is qualified to carry out the duties of the director of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. So there's there's certainly no shortage of very highly qualified people who could do that.
But is he able to continue to reappoint you for 60-day periods?
I don't believe the statute allows that. Russell Suzuki went over that with me a few years ago when he was the Attorney General. And in codifying the title that addresses the executive branch, probably back in, I don't know when that was, but it was many decades ago. The goal was to create a balance of powers between the legislative branch and the executive branch, curbing the powers of the governor. And that, for that purpose, the governor can't appoint somebody as an interim if they have not been, if they have been rejected by the legislature, and he can't appoint somebody to a new 60-day acting, because that would defeat the purpose of having the governor appoint someone who is then subject to advice and consent. So it's all about balance of powers.
Right. Understood.
Okay.
Well, we're happy to have you back for as long as we can get you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions for Mary Alice on her report? All right, well, thanks again, Mary Alice. Mary, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you then for the INO update.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to report that we had a very interesting forum last week. It was so good. There were 4 Wahinis that I was going to say performed, but that's it almost was a performance, though. It was so dramatic. It was so exciting, everything that they could do. The depth of the layers of information that were available. Rachel was there, Roy was there. Thank you all for logging in and participating. I could even see an application for myself, and if I wanted to research a piece of property, just to know if my clients were telling me the truth, or if they really knew what they had, to sell or something. And there's a way to do that by just logging in under beta. And as long as you don't involve an employee of Fish and Wildlife, by logging in and registering the property, all of that information is available to anybody that wants to get it to, use constructively. So I've already planted a seed with the State Association of Realtors to have those people come and speak at the annual Realtors Conference. I think it would be a really good, the information's there, it's been gathered, and the mapping, oh my gosh, you guys, the mapping has gotten so good. You can drill down to the most minute little place. And anyway, I'm just sorry that you weren't there, but I know everybody's busy. So we're looking forward to our next forum, which I'm literally 10 seconds ago, I got the email from Rep. Lowen confirming the confirmation. So June 27th, folks, just a couple of weeks away at noon. This one will be at lunchtime. We had to move the Fish and Wildlife to 9:30 because 2 of our participants were on the East Coast. So we couldn't do noon because that would have been too late in the day for them. Anyway, this will be at noon. Rep. Lowen, Ron Terry, and Wayne Tanaka will be our panelists. The title is called Clearing the Hurdles of an EIS. And we're ready to go. And we're not going to do a press release. We were unable to have an INO meeting today. We had a really interesting situation occur, gave us all a learning opportunity. I received 2 copies of the INO agenda. One said the meeting would be at 11 o'clock, at 11 a.m. period. The other one said it would be from 11 to 12, and an explanation was given that the second agenda was being sent out because they had to correct the physical location of the meeting. So that was fine, whatever. And then 11 o'clock came around and nobody opened up Zoom for me. So I turned to Onauna and she said, no, Mary, your meeting's at noon. And I said, but my agenda says 11 o'clock. So we scurried around and we made Tom start the meeting early. So Tom and I started talking to each other at about 11:30. And I said, well, Tom, Tom said, my agenda says noon. And he showed me this piece of paper that says 12 o'clock on it. I said, well, mine says 11 o'clock. So then we spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get to the Lieutenant Governor's website to see what was posted. And that took, Tom and I alone never figured it out. We did find, Tom showed me how to go to planning.hawaii.gov and pull up the agenda for INO. And what was interesting on that, it said that INO was at 11. But then when you clicked on look at details, the details show the actual agenda, and that actual agenda said 12 o'clock. So we had a conflict there, but we still couldn't figure out what got posted. What did we sunshine? And then Mary Alice came in the room, and she first talked about, we first discussed this whole press release nonsense and got that all sorted out. And then we told her what we were trying to do. And so all three of us went back onto the website to figure out what does the general public do? And the only thing that we figured out to do was to go to ehawaii.gov, click on departments, put calendar into the search box. And then the first link that came up was public calendars. And then we could change the date. And then we found our agenda, and that we did agendize with the Lieutenant Governor's office to have the meeting at noon. So we were there, we were at 12 o'clock, but we didn't have a quorum. So we waited for a while to make sure that no public showed up. And then we canceled the meeting based on the lack of quorum. So I'm saying all of that for the benefit of the legality of what process we went through, and how, without less, it's incumbent on us to make Tom's job a little bit easier, that we read our agendas and double check what's going on. Otherwise, we're going to spend an hour talking to each other on Zoom for nothing.
Well, thank you, Mary and Tom, for chasing that down, and Mary Alice. And yeah, I thought it was easier to get on the Lieutenant Governor's website, but it sounds like not. So,
no.
Yeah, and Mary, I'll apologize to you because no other committees decided to have meetings. So I did tell Tom to move INO to 12, but when I checked back on my email, I neglected to copy you on that. So I apologize to you for that. So we will all work on our better processes.
Yeah.
going forward.
Well,
But yeah, so I'm glad to hear. So apologies again about that, but yeah.
no, it's not. Thank you for apologizing, but really Tom and I, we were productive in a silly way, but I think we actually were, we both learned a lot about the websites.
Right.
So.
We'll be better about checking quorum and going forward. And I know, yeah, Tom, I know you got a lot on your plate too. So let us know what processes work for you. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be exactly what Les did, right? So if there's a better way to do things for you, just let us know so that we can all just be on the same page with agendas and whatnot. I will make sure that I CC the committee chairs that I had you on that email, but I think I sent it just to Allison and Tom for the final agenda with the meeting time. So yeah, that one was on me. So I apologize about that. But the other thing, Tom, that I think that Les used to do that was helpful would send us Google Calendar invites to individual committees. So if that doesn't take up too much more of your time, that I think that would be helpful for us just to get it on our calendars. But again, if that's something that does take up a significant amount of time, I just don't know how long it does, because you have to do different ones for the whole council and then the individual committees, let us know and we can kind of rethink that process as well.
I'll just share that most of us use that Google invite to save to our Google calendars. And then that's where we get our link for the Zoom link and then for the agenda for the meeting. So if it isn't too much, it would be super helpful, because that, like this morning, Gordon couldn't find the link, and that's why he bothered you, Tom, was looking for the link, because we're spoiled.
Yes, so well, usually the Google things are pretty easy, so I will familiarize myself with it, and presumably it'll be an easy thing to continue or maybe even improve upon.
Sure. Yeah, anything that works and I think that gets it on people's calendars is helpful. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I'm glad to hear that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife presentation went well. And I told Mary I actually thought that one was at noon, so unfortunately I missed it. But Mary did, I think you sent the link to the.
I recorded it. It was
yes,
recorded.
So you know what? After this meeting, we'll forward the link to the council members. It's just public informational if folks are interested in viewing it, because yeah, it sounded like it was a really, really interesting one. Go ahead, Maka'alo.
Thank you, and thank you for recording it. We've done a few pretty good ones. I thought the watershed one was great and never got posted. If there's any chance for us to retrieve any of that stuff, it would be a worthy effort, because it looks like INO was doing some good work, and it's not there. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions. I'm just hoping that if there's any chance of finding some of those, there's 2 up there now that are just audio. And that's better than nothing, but the pictures, are much richer. And I, for those of us that have other, challenges, it'd be really, really nice to have those as a record. I, for one, like to refer people to them, go look at that and whatever. And I'm afraid if they see that it's just audio, that's not going to hold their attention. Also want to point out that the June 27th date, that's the Hawaii Conservation Conference. So many of us will be there. And it's not likely to be a time that I can sneak away.
Sorry, we always planned for the last week of June and no one said anything about any dates, so we picked that date. And
Yeah,
I've got 3 yeses,
26th
so I'm gonna stick with it.
Yeah, it's 26th to 30th this year. Yeah, anyway, this is the first year that we've been.
I
able
wonder
to
why
do
Dawn
that.
didn't say anything to me about it.
Didn't know.
Yeah,
It's the first year it's this early, so it's a little bit
'cause
weird.
it's usually like in September, isn't it?
It's usually in
No,
July.
July,
Oh, July.
but yeah, I don't know why, but at any rate, that's with that date. So I'll look forward to the recording.
Thanks, Maka'alo. Anybody else have any other questions or comments for Mary? Or Mary, if you had anything further from INO.
Not at this time. We don't have any other forums planned for this year. If there's something that we thought maybe we should just chill and let the new less or whatever it's going to be get on there on the ground before we planned anymore, unless there's something that we really should be putting forward. And if you all want to just send me independently ideas for future forums, we're happy to hear from everybody. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mary. And then you folks are in the meantime working on your flyer and the invite for the June 27th. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for Mary Alice on that while we have her?
No, I had finished my press release, but now I'm not going to do the press release. So we're back to, but we have a good plan. I'm not going to bore you guys. You don't need to understand the machinations of that. You just can see the results. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mary. Okay, so, the last really substantive thing that we do have on the agenda. Go ahead, Robin.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Just one question on all these lists. Because I'm sure Ron would ask this if he were here. The list that you will use, particularly for the one that's going to come up, will that include county planning departments?
Go
Chair.
ahead, you take that, Mary Alice, because that's what we discussed today.
So we've got 2 different MailChimp lists. One is the ERP list for the environmental notice. I'm guessing that the county planning departments are on that one. And then we have the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development's newsletter list. And I'm also thinking that the county planning departments are on that one. There will be some duplication, but we're all used to that. So it's impossible to weed out duplication once you've already got a MailChimp list. So Robin, in answer to that, the county planning departments may get 2 announcements.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I think even for the last one, Tom had actually placed a notice within the notice, right?
Yes, and certainly, as I find out about these things, I'll easily put them in as an announcement within the notice, which goes to all the, I think it's about 1,300 subscribers at this point.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Roy.
I had a question. In the past, I thought Les said there's some kind of memory capacity limit, or you couldn't have too many of these recordings on the site. I don't know what site, but yeah, I agree. We should have those things always available because they're so informative, you know. The DLNR one with invasive species was really well organized, but DLNR took it down from their website. So a lot of these are good to have just as permanent links if possible. But I remember Les saying there's some kind of capacity limit because they're huge files, the recordings.
Roy, I remember something like that too. We keep getting very persistent emails from our department IT team saying that we're just about to crash our memory, and please take stuff down. So they're certainly our internal memory is limited. Now, what we put up on the cloud may not be, and YouTube doesn't seem to have a limit at this point, but we do expect that at some point, there's going to be subscription fees for memory, and so there may not be it may not be free at some point in time, but we'll explore where the most memory can be had in order to keep stuff available to the public.
Thank you. Yeah, and I guess along the lines of those questions, right? Because when we did the new environmental rules, one of the things that we added, right, were the audio recordings of public testimony. And I believe those do have to be preserved in perpetuity in some manner. I think, so what's happening with those, right, is they're being submitted via CD or flash drive or whatnot to ERP, is that correct? But those aren't being uploaded, are they?
They are being uploaded. They're being generally submitted as an MP4 file.
Mhm.
And then I include those in the upload, just like the PDF files of the written document. So they're available on our website, and then the links to them are just like the links to the other documents.
Are those taking up a lot less memory versus, videos of, these Zoom sessions, for example?
I really don't know what a Zoom session, but I don't know where on the cloud it is. If it's just a link that we get, as opposed to us actually holding it on our own server. So a lot of this, I'm not sure of the sizes, even like the size of the MP4 files. I don't know how big they are, but I would imagine an audio file is a lot less than a video.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the same ways. I mean, because there are certain things that do need to be hosted kind of in perpetuity. So hopefully, these forum videos can also be available in some way, right? But, yeah. Thanks for looking into that. Okay, next up, item number 5. So within your packet, you folks should have received, we got a pre-assessment consultation request to the council. This is for I believe the water tank replacement project on the island of Hawaii. So
Excuse me, no, just really quickly.
yes, go
On
ahead.
that the size of file, I have the video of the Fish and Wildlife on a jump drive, and it is 602 megabytes. So that's not that big. So anyway, just for data, just for
Yeah, no,
information.
that's good to know. Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
All right. So like I said, within your packet for agenda item number 5, we as the council, we're requesting, basically we got a scoping letter, right, for this environmental assessment for a proposed water tank. Now, I did include it because it was addressed to us, for the council, for something to review. We have not as a council done one of these, at least I believe in the time that this current council has been on. So I did not include an action item. I mean, it's a 30-day request. we received it on the May 26th, so the deadline would be June 26th. But I did want to include it for folks in case anybody wanted to, review and respond as an individual. Of course, you are welcome to do that. But yeah, as for the council, I mean, I think it's just something, if we do continue to get more of these in the future, I think we can discuss if that's something where as a whole, the council would want to do review and comments and whatnot. For this one, again, if individuals want to do it, I'm not inclined to do something as the council, just because I don't think folks will be able to review. I don't know that they will in time and get comments out. And it wasn't really something we've yet to discuss if there is a want for us to start kind of reviewing these documents and providing comments as a council, right? So go ahead, Makaala.
Thanks, Onana. That was my inclination as well. Just FYI, this project has been in the process for many years. This is not new to the community or the public, and the need is clear and current. It is enlarging a water tank to address development in the area. It's also a concrete tank, which we like. So I did a brief query of some of the people within a half mile of it, and everybody is in strong support.
Thanks, Makaala, for that information. Go ahead, Robin.
Now, what are the implications if we do not comment or review it as a council?
No, there are no implications. So as you folks know, when EAs and EISs are drafted, the first step is really pre-consultation, right? So for an EA, you do pre-consultation, you'll send out, these types of letters for requests to interested stakeholders, folks in the area, certain government agencies, organizations, just to say, this is our project, this is what we're planning to do. For an EIS in particular, right, you do that before your scoping document goes out to try to get pre-comments before you go out for the actual scoping on the EIS side. On an EA, this is kind of that EISPM process in a sense, where they're going to take any comments received and put this into the draft EA, right? So it's really, it's not the only opportunity to comment on something, but it's, for certain organizations, individuals, agencies that might have an interest in it, planners will reach out and invite those folks to offer comments on the project, pre-consultation comments, which then gets worked into the draft document.
So
no obligation, they're going to go forward with or without us commenting on it, right?
Is there I'm not sure this is the right word, is there a value for us establishing a policy of not commenting in these situations? Is this something we would want to do in a different kind of project? Do we want to reserve that for us, or do we want to be out of it altogether?
I think that is a larger question to look at, and I haven't, in terms of, right, we've gone back to our enabling statute in many cases on, what are we authorized to do? What is the purpose of the council, right? And, reviewing environmental progress of the state, for the agencies is one thing. Commenting on individual projects, I think there's an argument that can be made either way to do it. But I think as a council, we have to think about things. If we're going to do it for one, we should probably do it for all. I don't know that it benefits us to review only certain projects, if that's the case. And capacity wise, I don't know. Even for ERP, right? That's one thing that's been suggested in legislative sessions, is to have ERP comment and review every single EA and EIS that comes through. So it's a big ask. And Mary Alice, I know you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I'm going to echo your thoughts on that. The Office of Planning and Sustainable Development seems to be on every single planning firm's last list for pre-consultation, draft EAs, draft EISs, all of those phases of the 343 process. And we've had to take a step back and say, what what is of value for us to comment on, because nothing's actually required. There's no legal requirement. And we comment on ones that have an important state interest that we would like to see, at least in the pre-consultation process, that the scope of the draft EA or EIS addresses. You know, and then when the draft comes out, we would look at them to see if they address that important state interest. But we get them for the tiniest projects all the way up to huge ones, and dozens a month. And it is in a planning firm's best interest to cast that net as widely as possible, but it's not necessarily in our best interest to address every single request for comment that we get. So occasionally we'll just send back a memo letter saying we confirm receipt and we have no comments to offer at this time. That's one way, but that would be, in my view, a burden on the very limited ERP staff to even send back a confirmation of receipt, which is not expected or required, with a no comment, content on that. So that's just as a way of, that's our perspective on it. The council, of course, you have policy autonomy, so you can do whatever you would like. But I would say that, right now, the ERP staff does not have the capacity to support you if you were to choose to comment on all of the potential comment opportunities that are sent out, every week or month.
Onana, since you have not agendized this, other than to review this, could we have at the next meeting a policy discussion focusing on a particular stand? I think Mary Alice's comment of we have no comment, I would suggest we consider something even more negative than that. So could we just put that off for a conversation to have at the next meeting, and we could perhaps ask Allison to think in advance about what are the legal parameters of us saying outright, we do not do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I think I can certainly agendize it for July.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We can have further discussion. And, for this one, again, I wanted to provide the information to folks in case as an individual you were interested in providing comments on it. It's something that came in, and at this point, I don't plan to respond from the council, right? Because it's just I won't provide a no comment or otherwise. Essentially, just stay silent on this until we can have further discussion. Go ahead, Tom.
I might just add there the timing of it. They usually expect a response within 30 days, and by the time the council got it and had a chance to think about it, and just responding within that time, it's just something to consider how viable it is to deal with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Short time periods. Okay. Well, anybody else have questions or thoughts? Go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, I think the council members, if they're interested, should subscribe to the environmental notice, and they would immediately know about all the projects and they can comment on their own. I think that would be the easy way around it. People could still comment, but it wouldn't be a function of the council.
Right. Yeah.
And I think just being a responsible, citizen, you should kind of keep track of these. These projects.
That's an option for drafts and whatnot. For the pre-consultation notices, though, those don't get published, so those will be through direct contact from.
True. I was wondering, didn't the guidelines have a list of recommended agencies that should be contacted, or some kind of? I haven't done one for a while. Tom, was there something like a recommended list of agencies?
Well, a list had been formed quite a few years ago when we were in the business of confirming or verifying the accuracy of distribution lists for EISs. We had generated, and this was 15 years ago, kind of the universe of all the regular agencies that is interested. That list still exists. It's out of date as far as the contact info, but that exists kind of in the archives as information. It was in the guidance documents, which are still on the website, but it's not a process that we actively participate in.
Okay. Yeah, I guess as a consultant, we still kind of go through the list and maybe as a minimum, send it to those on the list. And we still try to add more that for agencies that we thought might get, might be of interest. I guess as a consultant, we don't want any surprises later, we want to do the consultation early and get input and not have surprises later once the, see the final is published or the draft. So yeah, it depends on a consultant. It's a judgment call. If you want to just try to get by without doing a lot of consultation, or you want to do a cast a wide spread and be safe and get input. So it's just a judgment call for consultants.
My understanding was that the rules, the current rules, took into account that probably the entities with the best judgment on that is the agency and the consultant. And they can decide who the best, the universe of appropriate stakeholders might be. So they have they're in the driver's seat as far as figuring out who to send it to rather than going to some common list.
Right, that's correct.
We actually received them even on exemption notices, pre-consultation on exemption notices. So some of this goes kind of to extreme lengths. I'm glad they were participating in the process, but it turned into a pretty big deal.
Sure. Okay, well, we will, for the July meeting, add an agenda item so that we can get into further discussion on this now that folks have kind of provided some initial thoughts and we can think on it a little bit more before the July meeting. Any other questions on that before we move on? Okay. So our next the next agenda item was our next in-person meeting. I know we had one, gosh, when was our last one? Is it March? I think it was
March.
right? Yeah, and so, I think we're right now kind of trying to aim if we can do two a year or even one per quarter. And I know Mary Alice, you're only in the acting director's role temporarily. Same discussion from when you were our full-time director. I know you folks said that, basically June 30 is, your fiscal year end. If we did want to plan something coming up for, I'm kind of thinking this fall might be good for our next one, or I don't know if others had ideas on getting together in person sooner than that. But question is, one, what's the date that people think would work? And two, Mary Alice, is there funding to do another in-person meeting this year? So maybe we'll start with question number 2 to you, Mary Alice, if you're able to provide, let us know how we could go about getting funding for that, and then folks can kind of think on, when might be a good time for another in-person meeting.
Yeah. Actually, had we thought of this last month, I think, when I wasn't acting director, we would have encumbered funds from this year for a July or August in-person meeting, or September one, and encumbered it by purchasing the airfare tickets in advance, which is what we do with some of our other inter-island boards and commissions meetings. I think I am absolutely sure we'll find the funds to have an in-person meeting in the first or second quarter. I also know that Budget and Finance is going to restrict our budget by 10% for the general funds. So everything that we think we have is going to be, shrunk by that much. But I think you should go ahead and plan for an in-person meeting whenever it's most convenient for the council members, and we'll somehow find the money.
Okay. And so there's no chance, like if we decided today that we could encumber some of the funds from this past budget so that we're not taking, it's too late.
We have been working as hard as possible to spend every single penny of our fourth quarter remaining balance, in complete opposition to the Department of Budget and Finance, which wants us to lapse every single possible penny in order to have a large carryover balance for the state as a whole, in order to impress the bond rating agencies with our fiscal prudence and get a lower interest rate on our capital improvement bonds.
So
So
you
no,
folks have already tied up the money basically for this year. So is that my, yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying, yes.
Okay.
Maybe just a smidge left, but possibly not enough.
No, that's helpful for us to know, because then I won't rush folks to pick a date today. You know what I mean? So I think maybe by July meeting, if folks can kind of have an idea. I will say I do know that HCPO is in September on Oahu this year, but I think that's 3rd or 4th week of September. Is that correct? So it wouldn't be during the council week.
6th through the.
No, it's earlier. And we'd love to combine, board meetings with the HCPO. So that would be, and if the council members want to attend the HCPO and hold a board meeting, then that would be a cost savings for the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, because there'd be one set of airfare. It would add, of course, it would add to overnight, so there'd be lodging involved. But I think it would be, if there's a way to have the council members participate, the city and county is the host this year.
Right.
And I've seen their preliminary agenda, because of course that's exactly what we did, was we encumbered all of our registration fees out of our current budget for September
Okay.
already.
Then you're right. It is September 6th through the 8th this year. So first Tuesday would be September 5th, the day before.
Isn't that sounds like a perfect timing. That the lodging would be probably the most expensive part of that for I think we missed the early bird registration for that for the council members. So we're into regular registration fees, and I think it's running around 400 something, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, per person. And that's for, and then any mobile workshops on Wednesday, the 6th, are an additional cost, although there's some very interesting ones. And then the full, then there's a reception on Wednesday afternoon or evening that's traditional. And then all the workshops are on all day Thursday and into Friday morning. So that would be Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. That's 3 room nights. And the conference hotel is the Sheraton this year. It could get pricey, yes, but
yeah, I don't know that I'm necessarily proposing that we take OPSD's budget to pay for all of the members to go to HCPO, but I guess, if we were to try to hold a meeting that weekend, because I know there would be several council members in town for that in person, would that be, like if we did hold a meeting on the 5th, which is prior to HCPO starting, does that potentially work for because yeah, for you folks, understanding that you'll also probably be preparing to attend HCPO.
yeah, but since we're not hosting,
Yeah.
we'll be getting ready to, for a learning opportunity, but not working our tails off trying to make sure that, everything's ready for it.
Well, maybe we'll kind of, if folks if September, that first week of September sounds doable for folks, we'll kind of put it, tentatively schedule it for September 5th as our next in-person meeting, and then we can discuss again in July. How does that sound to the council members? Okay, well, thank you, Mary Alice, for
You're
helping with that. Okay, so our next regular meeting via Zoom is going to be, or hybrid, will be Tuesday, July 11. If you folks recall, we moved it back a week because I think of the 4th, the holiday on the 4th, and folks might be traveling during that time. Any questions on that? And then I do have the general ERP email in the agenda again, just as a reminder to folks if you need to get in touch. And both Tom and Jen are checking that email. Okay, and then the last thing, I think Gordon is leaving us after this meeting. So I just wanted to, say mahalo nui loa to you for joining us. And, even before you became a council member, you were, sitting in our meetings and helping. And we really, really do thank you for your service. And you have not used your full 8 years. So if you decide you want to come back in a little bit, of course, we'd be happy to have you back.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then I will, when I have the opportunities, try to hook up and be a member of the public for the Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
But then just with my thing, it's been pushed back and now it's starting next week. I'll have to kind of like make my way through that and see what kind of time I have available to attend, but I'm going to miss it. So.
Yeah, we thank you so much, Gordon. We really appreciate you helping us.
You guys.
Can I ask you an administrative question, Gordon?
Sure.
Have you notified the office, governor's office, boards and commissions office of your resignation from the council?
I have not, because I'm not resigning. My term has expired, so I'm not sure exactly what I have to do.
I see. But this is your first term.
That's correct.
Okay.
And he's not seeking reappointment because so naturally, yeah, just because of his workload. So June 30 is technically when his appointment expires.
Okay. And then may I ask, because I wasn't director during this last legislative session, Chair, was someone confirmed into Gordon's seat?
No, I reached out to boards and commissions via several emails and I got ignored. Understandably, there was a lot going on, with the more important appointments. So now that has quieted down, I do plan to reach back out again to see if we can get the empty seats, filled for either via interim appointments or, through the next legislative session.
Okay. Chair, loop me in on that because I also need to, interact with them and because this is a new administration under Governor Green, there's a new person in that seat, and the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development also has other boards and commissions that have
Vacancies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll draft an email and I'll include you. And I know Sharon Ybarra, who's not in Gov's office anymore, she was really helpful. I did get the contact information for the new person, but I had kind of reached out to the general emails, again during session, and it was. I'll just chalk it up to I'm sure they were busy with other things. Yeah, we'll try to get some new things done, but yeah, thank you again, Gordon. We'll miss seeing you and feel free to join back anytime.
Yep, we'll be seeing you soon. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so next meeting is July 11th. Agendas are going to be due. Okay, let's see. Let's just do this really, really quick, folks. July 11th, agendas due no later than July 3rd. To Tom, to the general ERP email, and to me and to Allison. Please identify any items that need to go on the full agenda. And I know we don't have Michelle or Ron on, so I'm not sure if we'll have exemptions, but committee chairs just think about, whether or not you're going to have meetings for that, for the July meeting. All right, any other questions or announcements from anybody? Go ahead, Steph,
I'm not gonna make our meeting next week.
next month.
Or sorry, yeah, that too.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
Thanks.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, thank you all so much. It is 2:08 PM and we're gonna adjourn. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you. Thanks again, Gordon.